if we had to do it this way, we would never have stayed in concrete.
With machine screeding, as long as your forms are set up good and your rails are set up good, anybody could do it.
This isn't something you're going to get out there and do the first time you pour.
Okay, welcome back to another video. Today is going to be all about different ways to screed concrete. But before we get into that, we just want to go over our stores that we're in. We are in all white caps, so if you are if you're near white cap and you want to get screed chairs, just go talk to your local white cap. If they don't have it in stock, they can get it ordered. We are, if you are in California, we are in Hard Hat Construction, Valley Construction, and Squires Lumber and white cap. If you are in Seattle, we're in Stoneway Construction. And then if you are in Idaho, we are in Franklin Building Supply. And then if you are in Oklahoma or Texas, we are also in CMC. So if you want to get screed chairs in your local stores, go contact whoever your local store representative is. Have them get a hold of us or tell us and we can give them a call. So with that being said, I wanted to go over, we're going to just react to some comments that we've gotten on our social media page. Because once again, today's all about different ways to screed concrete. And these are just some comments that we've had. So in this video, this is us just talking about roller screeds and how they've been around for a long time. Because it seems like a lot of people don't really know about them. But like here is one of the first comments. They're specifically asking about screed rails. But it says, what do you do with the rails that I assume would be in the middle of a slab? Would you pour both sides first and then remove the rail? Or are there any videos showing the removal of the rails?
Well, if you look at this, they're screeding off a slab from a pre-poured slab to the form. So if your screed isn't that long to where you could go from form to form, like this right here, you can see that they have a rail in there. So as you pour through that one section between the screed rail and your form, okay, so if you look at this one, they have a screed rail, so they're pouring, it looks like a, I don't know if that's for, maybe for a shop. So to pour this, your roller screed isn't going to fit all the way across your whole shop. So you have a 40-foot shop. So if this is say a 22-foot roller screed, they have that screed rail running down the middle. So what you'll do is you'll pour both sides of that screed rail. If your screed rail is 20 foot long, then you'd pour both sides of that 20 foot long. So you want to try to keep your where your screed rail is, both sides, you want to try to keep that in the middle wet. And so if you can pour a whole side, say maybe it's only 40 feet long, and you're pouring early in the morning to where your concrete's not going to set up very quick, you could pour one whole side, say it's a 40 by 40 or something, 40 by 50, and you pour one whole side and then you come back up and pour the whole other side. You could probably get away with that early in the morning to where your concrete's not starting to harden between the two. And if it starts to harden between the two slabs or two sections that you're pouring, that's where you could get your cold joint. Say we have this is just a flat pad and we've got forms. There's a form on this side and a form on the whole outside's formed with forms to grade. And then we're just going to pour a pad here. So if we're going to pull this, let's say this line right here, the center line is our screed rail, and what we have is, say we're using a 10-foot long screed rail and this is 80 foot long, so we're gonna have to pull this thing down 8 times as we're pouring. So on something that's this long, you're not going to want to pour one whole side and then come back and pour the whole other side, because you will probably get a cold joint. So what we would probably do on something like this is we would pour down to about 20 feet. So you'd only pull this once. So in something like this, I would use a 20-foot screed rail. And we would pour this side first up to this 20-foot mark. Then we'd jump over and pour this side here up to this 20-foot mark. And then as soon as we get that, we will pull the screed rail down to the next 20 foot. And then you got your last 20 foot, something like this. So we'd pour it this side, This is 1. This is 2. Then we jump back up. You could pour this 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. And so that's how we would pour something like this. If we're pouring early in the morning, then I probably would have put two screed rails in here, and we probably would have poured half. We would have poured this 40-foot section and then jumped down and poured this 40-foot section, and then, well, actually we would have poured this whole thing the rest of the way and then jumped back up and poured this. So something like this, a 40 by 80, you should be able to screed that out, and I would say under an hour, maybe 30-40 minutes with a roller screed. And if you were pumping this in, if you were using a truck, then what you'd have to do is you'd have to have the truck, say, on this side to start with, and you'd pour this 40-foot section, and then the truck would have to move and come around this other side. I don't even know if you could get a full truck. I'd have to calculate it, but either this would be your first truck, your second truck, your third truck, fourth truck. But so you'd pour this 40-foot section, jump over and pour this 40-foot section, pull your rails down all the way down to here, and then you'd pour this one, or whichever, depending on which side your truck's on. Depending on the size of the screed you're using, if you're using a 22-foot screed, these are going to be 20-foot sections. The reason we like the 22-foot screed, you can do them in 20-foot sections, and that's where your cuts are going to be. So you'll have, this will be one screed rail, and then you'd have your next screed rail would be here, and you could already have these set up. But in this pour, we would use 10-foot screed rail and would pour this section here, or you could use a 20-foot, doesn't matter. Pour this section, and you just slide your screed rail down as you're pouring, and then as soon as you finish this, so you're screeding, if this is a wall and you don't have, say it's a foundation wall and your floor is down inside, you don't have you can't screed off your forms, then you're going to have another screed rail about 3 foot off this wall, and so you'd screed this section, and as you're doing that, once this section's screeded, you can, we're sliding this screed rail down every 10 feet until this side's screeded. Then you pull that screed rail out and you finish this side, and since we can reach these, we'll pull our screed chairs out, wash them off, and reuse them. And then when you get here, you've already screeded it down here, so you'll move your screed rail back up to start here, and you already have another screed rail here. So now you're screeding off 2 screed rails, and you're screeding this section, and you're probably only about, especially with the pump, maybe 15 minutes. It'd take you about 15 minutes to pour this side out, another 15 minutes to pour this side out, and so this joint here is not going to be hard in 15 minutes. Even if it took you 30 minutes, this joint, it's not going to be hard in 30 minutes unless you're using some kind of fast setting concrete, which most of the time you don't use. So you just do that the rest of the way, and you're pouring these sections out, and there's really no way of getting a cold joint because everything's now put together. Somebody's floating this as you're pouring this section. They just keep moving down, floating this as you pour in this section, then they float this, and then you pour this section, they float this. So your floor is completely floated. By the time you get down here, everything's floated, filled in, and you're probably getting close to ready to power trowel. The rails do not stay in the concrete. You pull them out as you go. So as soon as one section's poured, as soon as this section's poured, you're pulling the rails out, like you'd pull this rail out, and you'd still have to have a rail here in order to pour this next section. As soon as this section's poured, this rail's pulled out. So you could pull this rail out and move it over to here. So in this situation, you'd only need 2 10-foot rails, and you could pour this whole thing with 2 10-foot rails and just move them. And then when you get to this last section, you'd pull the rails out, everything gets filled in, everything gets floated, and then you're ready to power trowel.
And when you're pulling out the rails too, depending on what screed chair you're using, if you're using the round ones, you're gonna have to fill that gap because you can see here the void that it leaves versus the flat bar where, you know, if you don't have to have it exactly perfect, you don't even need to fill that one. You can just float over it.
Yeah, and you can fill it. You can fill it as long as your screed chairs are pretty solid in the ground. You can walk on this rail to walk out there. As you pull this, you can walk out there and you can shovel some into these into the voids and then just float that right in. So
okay, there's 2 more comments I want to read that'll take us right into the rest of the topic of the video. Is this person says, it's amazing how many people can't see how superior these roller screeds are to any other pouring method. And then this guy says, I see other comments in your videos. I need to know why people get so upset with getting the job right without intense physical labor. I just don't get it. Which is where we're at too. We have the same questions because it seems like when it comes to pouring concrete and screeding specifically, is every aspect of screeding has advanced, or excuse me, every aspect of concrete has advanced except for when it comes to screeding. People still feel like they need to be in the mud, hand screeding, kick screeding, instead of using machine screeding, which is another huge reason why we use the rails, is because we're able to use stuff like a roller screed with the rails. And here's just the example of how people, like, these are just all the different ways to screed concrete, and we just want to go over all of them. And we're not saying that these ways are wrong. Like this first guy that we're gonna watch, this is Mike Day. Mike Day is probably one of the biggest guys on YouTube, especially when it comes to like education for concrete. And he's had the same crew with him for years, I assume, but these guys are all really good at what they're doing. So what they do is they shoot these cow patties or these wet pads to grade, and then they mark them. And then they screed a little section that they can then screed their concrete off of. And apparently this is the way everybody does it, and I've never even seen concrete screed this way until a couple years ago.
well, there's always you know, in different situations you're probably going to use most every method. So I think the reason he does this is because in his area, I can't remember where they're at, Maryland or something. In his area, they have to have that vapor or that foam and the insulating foam, because I think it gets really cold there. So the only way in this situation, you're either going to be kick screening like he's doing, or in order to get rails in there, you either have to be able to pound rebars down through the foam, and I would assume there's a vapor barrier underneath the foam. If they don't allow that, then the only other way would be to use the plates that we have with the rebar welded on the plates, and that would sit on top of the foam. And so then you could set screed rails and use roller screeds through here. So I mean, these guys are pretty efficient. They're pretty fast. Their mud is really wet, which I think he says they use water reducer or plasticizer to, so it's not, the slump isn't as wet as what it looks like. Like, to me, this looks like a 6 or a 7, and I think it still tests out fine if you use the water reducer. Usually when we pour at 4, sometimes a 5, but if it's being tested, then we have to pour at a 4, and we don't use any plasticizer or water reducer at all. So we try to pour early in the morning. It's not always possible, but to me, the way they do it just is a lot of unnecessary work, I think. But this is probably how he was taught and how he's always done it, and they make their money doing it this way, and a lot of people do it this way.
Well, and I think he usually now uses a vibrating screed to screed now. I think it was just this video specifically. He was showing people how to kick screed.
But they probably don't use rails at all.
No, they don't.
Yeah, and I think you have a huge advantage using rails, and the reason why is the rail is set to grade, and you can't, like here, if he pushes down a little bit too far, or if he's up a little bit, I mean, you could see at the end of his board there, it's a little bit off the concrete. At least it appears to be. I don't know if it is or not, and they probably get it nice and flat. But you're bent over the whole time. It's a lot of work. This is just a lot of work. That if we had to do it this way, we would never have stayed in concrete. We just wouldn't. So it's just a lot of hard work.
So there's this way of doing it, which is the kick screeding, but then over in our good friends from Australia that love us, they screed a different way. Similar but different. They have these big long screed sticks. Where they're actually screeding and like smoothing out the concrete as they go at the same time. So they're doing like, you know, a foot by whatever size that screed bar is, maybe 6 or 8 feet at a time, and they're just doing small sections.
I think we've seen those up to 12 foot long, but it's the exact same thing. I mean, you're just working harder than smarter. So, but I think a lot of people take pride, and they believe that concrete's a man's job, and it should be back-breaking work. So, don't you think?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would never stay in concrete if this is how we had to do it.
Yeah, and this is Concrete Ninja. He's another really big.
Yeah, once their competition
YouTuber.
starts seeing how we do it, they'll be able to do it a little bit cheaper and take these guys as jobs.
Well,
they'll be able to do it with less guys and pour it out a little faster and be able to take on more jobs because it's not. They can move a little quicker, you know.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're pouring a pretty heavy slump too. It doesn't look like it's too wet.
No.
So.
Well, and that's one thing they always comment on other people's videos. Someone like Mike Day, when they pour it really wet, they comment on it, and I don't know. I don't know. The thing is like everybody's got their different ways to do it. But yeah, this is just incredibly difficult, and you have to be skilled to do it this way.
Well, I think the plasticizer or the water reducer, there's a place for it. I don't think you should be using it on every pour, and there's a place for it. If you're gonna pour, maybe in hotter weather, I wouldn't never pour when it's windy, but in maybe warmer weather where you have to get it poured, you'd want to use a water reducer so it doesn't set up so quick. But what we try to do is we try to put everything in our favor, and it's not always possible, but when we were pouring every single day, we had trucks scheduled, you know, at least a month in advance, where we had a certain number of trucks saved every single day, and if we didn't need them, then we would call and cancel. But we were pouring pretty much every single day, and so getting concrete wasn't that big of a deal, and we would schedule our concrete early in the morning, and so we could pour early in the morning, and we didn't have to really fight the weather that much. If it was raining or the wind was blowing hard, we wouldn't pour, because all that's doing is putting you behind from the very start, and to finish concrete on a windy day is dang near impossible when you're out in the open like this. For the amount of time it's taken him to screed, I mean, you're with a roller screed, you're screeding that whole thing in hardly any time at all, without being bent over, without having some guy rake it perfect grade so you can screed over it. You know, we don't do any of that.
So this next one I want to show. The next one I want to show. This is our video. So this is how we hand screed versus our machine screeding. Because, like you already said, we still hand screed concrete. It's just there's a time and a place for everything. And pretty much every job you do, you're going to have to hand screed a little bit.
Well, you'll hand screed when it doesn't make sense to set up a roller screed or a vibrating screed. That's the only time we'll hand screed.
So this was I think we were pouring a sidewalk, and then we were pouring a pad. Oh no, it is just one sidewalk at this part.
So even something small like this, I mean, it takes no time at all to set up a roller screed. And we're pouring this, I don't remember the size of this, but we're pouring this, I think it was the back of a garage, I don't, sidewalk, a patio in the back of a garage is what it was. That's just the sidewalk to the house, but we roller screed that patio. Now this doesn't make sense to do anything other than hand screed. You could use the vibrating screed on this. If it was very long, I think it was pretty short little sidewalk, but if this was very long, we would have used the vibrating screed, a little sidewalk screed on this, and it works perfect. Yeah, you can see that's really short, so we just hand screeded that. And that back section there, you can see the roller screed setup. You could run a vibrating screed back there too, and it would work perfect.
Well, and the thing is here too with this little tiny section is nobody's in the mud. We've seen people get a little bored, get in the mud, and they're screeding it backwards, which doesn't make any sense because you can get out of the mud and just hand screed like we were just doing. Nobody's in the concrete.
Yeah, there's really no reason. If you can be out of the mud, the least amount of people in the mud, the better. Especially if you've got any kind of reinforcement, rebar mats or the welded wire down in there, then you're just stepping on it, forcing it down to the bottom. So you could see we got one guy shoveling, and pretty much all he's doing, he's just cleaning off the screed rail there, but pretty much all he's doing most of the time is just filling holes. He's not really...
And keeping the mud falling off the form.
Yeah, so I mean, he's not really moving, raking mud like they're doing when you hand screed. The roller screed does all the work. It pulls the mud. Even if the guy's piling it up, you can... The roller screed will pull the mud. You just pull it all the way down to the empty spot there. See how nobody's pulling that pile of mud? The roller screed's doing the work for you. You pull it down, pull it to the empty spot, just like that, and then you move back up and do it again until you don't have a big pile of mud out in front. See how it's pulling a whole nother pile of mud? And you can get perfectly flat concrete. So
I think one of the key words too that you said with machine screeding is it gives you the advantage, right? Like Todd already mentioned, if you're pouring out concrete fast, getting the jobs done quick, you can get more jobs. And we've literally had people comment on some of the videos saying, well, if I get my work done so fast, what am I going to have my guys do? And in our heads, we're thinking, well, you can have more jobs. If you get a job done, you can go get more jobs. You know, the faster and better you do jobs, you can go get more jobs to make more money.
Well, our philosophy was let's pour in the morning, early in the morning, and then we could set up for the next day during the day. And so, you know, if you do have a big crew, you should be running two or three full crews that pour, or maybe you have just a crew that sets up and maybe you have a crew that pours. But for us, it worked better. We would pour in the morning, whether it was just one crew or two crews, we'd pour in the morning, and then that same crew would set up for the next day. And so they're working in the morning pouring concrete, and then in the afternoon they're stripping and setting up for the next day's pour.
So this is how Mike Day does his with a vibrating screed. So no rails. They set their wet pads, or they're just screeding off parts they already screeded. So they got a guy that's trying to keep it level, raking it or mucking it, some people say. And this is really difficult too. Like, these guys are very skilled for doing it this way.
Yeah, this isn't something you're going to get out there and do the first time you pour. It's just not possible. So to keep that vibrating screed on top of the concrete so it doesn't go up and down and create all sorts of valleys, it's pretty hard. It's not, I mean, you have to go at the right speed. the right vibration. This is not easy, and I wouldn't recommend anybody doing this unless you've done it for a long time, because this is very difficult. We never, I don't think we've ever, have we ever done anything like that? I don't think we've ever done
No.
without rails ever.
So this is Grub Mud, another big guy, big U concrete YouTuber, and he actually was using our screed rails with a vibrating screed. Because I've seen his videos in the past where he wasn't a big fan of vibrating screed just because there was nothing to go off of and he was sick of it digging holes. It kept, vibrating down into the concrete.
That's what makes it very difficult.
Yeah.
Now, the thing I like about having the rails is, see, if he didn't get it, if he looks back over that and says, you know what, that doesn't look that great, he can just walk back out there and go right back over it again. You've already soured your, and probably not that big of a deal, but by going over it with that vibrating screed, you don't know if your cow patty line or whatever you're calling it, your grade line is still at perfect grade. So I mean, I don't see how you can trust it.
Well, and you can see here he keeps saying like it's easy, anybody can do it. This was the first time he ever used screed chairs too and screed rails. He had messaged us and we got on a phone call with him and he was asking us questions. We sent him some screed chairs and then he set up this huge shop pour that he did. And I mean, he said he liked them. He said they were super easy. His dad was the one out there screeding, and his dad's the oldest one in the crew. People using a vibrating screed. And I think these guys are going off of their forums.
Okay, yeah, and see these little screeds, like I've commented in other videos that we bought one of the very cheapest vibrating screeds you could buy on eBay or Amazon. I think it was a little over $200, $220, $250, and it just attached to a board just like this, just a 2x, and it worked awesome. I mean, I was surprised. The one we would use for sidewalks for the many years that we did them was a Marshalltown, and it was I think it was over $1,000 to buy that one, but we just attached it to a 2x6, and that's what we'd pour our sidewalks with. For years and years and years, that's what we used. And I like that vibrating screed, especially for sidewalks where you're trying to pour lots of, linear feet of sidewalk. Then this one looks similar to the Marshalltown, but you would see how it creams up the top. And some people say, well, I don't like that because it brings too much cream to the top and makes your top weak. But this, for sidewalks, using this vibrating screed, we were able to go really, really fast and screed a lot of footage.
Well, see, with this particular pour, I don't know what he's going off of on that left side. On his left side, I guess our right. Like I'm not seeing any height markers, and maybe he's got height pins in there or something, but
Definitely something like that. We would be roller screeding with the widest roller screed we could possibly get is what we would be pouring that with. Big slabs like that.
and see, this next one, this is our video of like what you just mentioned. This is the cheapest screed that we could get on Amazon. And we attached it to a board and we poured a sidewalk with it. So it's not like you have to spend, I don't know what those screed demons are or whatever they're called.
You could spend $1,500 for one with the board, maybe even more. But
And what did we spend on this? Like $250?
yeah, under $250, I'm pretty sure. And we just screwed it right to that 2x4. And I think it's a little two-stroke engine. It's not a Honda, but it's similar to the Hondas. And it just vibrates that 2x, and normally we would be on the outside of this pushing it, but you got a fence on one side and you got a foundation on this other side, and so there was no way to be on the outside to push it. So the guys in the mud pulling it. But the reason we're on the outside of the forms pushing it is to stay out of the mud. Every time you walk in that mud, somebody's got to fill that footprint.
And what's nice too about using this vibrating screed instead of just hand screeding this, because you probably could have hand screeded it, but for one, like you said, nobody can get on the other side because you got a fence there. But two, like nobody's bending over, like when they're screeding anyway. Obviously, you got to bend down when you're floating and finishing, but. So he can go over it with the screed, and then he can go back and hit it again if he's got any high or low spots. You can fill in any holes, and then you can go over it again.
Yeah, one thing I don't like about pulling these is just that you're not able to put the down pressure onto them. When you're pushing it and you have the handles, and I don't know if we have any videos of when we were pouring sidewalks, but you're able to push. You have handles coming up, one off each side, and you're on the outside of the form, and you're able to push down as you're, especially if you're pouring at a forced lump, you're able to push down and really move the concrete. So it's a little tougher. Especially thicker concrete. I don't know what this is poured at, but see how he's sliding the rails down now? This is just a 10-foot rail, and we poured that 10-foot section. Now he's sliding the rail down to the next set of screed chairs and screed in the next 10-foot section. So you're not leaving the screed rail in the mud. I don't know why people think that's what we're doing.
I wonder if it's because people have just never seen it before. They and definitely don't understand it. But so those are two methods so far that we've shown. I mean, we showed a little bit of the roller screed.
This right here is perfect for anybody wanting to get into doing concrete. You could probably, with this little cheap screed, you could probably screed 10 foot wide, and it would probably do it just fine. So we don't ever, usually anything over 10 foot wide, we'll pour with a roller screed. These vibrating screeds just have a problem. Maybe if you're using the aluminum or the magnesium boards, they'll vibrate out there better. But with wood, 10 foot's about the widest you're gonna be able to vibrate with those little vibrating screeds. But you could get in there with screed rails set up in 10-foot sections, and you could pour. You could totally pour pretty much any kind of pad with those little tiny vibrating screeds.
So this here would be like the next step up. Is you got your hand screeding, which everybody does. Then you got vibe screeds, which everybody has. But then you've got these roller screeds, which can pour a ton of concrete, and it's way less work, especially when you're pouring big stuff like this. And this one's actually in Australia. So a lot of Australians were saying that roller screeds will never make it in Australia. Well, this is in Australia. This is a Bunyan roller screed, and this video was 10 years ago. So, I mean, this is way older than we've been on the internet with concrete anyway. So, yeah, this is wasn't the Bunyan the first one you guys bought?
And it's not the first one we bought. We bought the electric one, but this, yeah, these hydraulic, it's pretty, I don't know how wide that is, but these hydraulic screeds are incredible. So if your concrete driver sucks and he piles it up, it looks like he's piled it up pretty good for these guys. You're gonna have to rake some of it out, because especially when you're pouring or pulling that long of a screed, if that's maybe 25-foot screed,
It's gonna be heavy.
It's heavy to pull very much mud, especially dry. Their mud looks dry. This looks exactly like how we do it, dry mud. But if you have a pump like this and your roller screed stays with the pump guy, it's pretty slick. It's pretty easy. You don't even really need a shoveler hardly, because the guy running that hose can put mud anywhere you want it. So this right here is by far the best way to pour concrete, with a roller screed and a pump, especially big slabs like this.
So here's the next one. This is a video of two girls that have never poured concrete before using a roller screed.
Yeah, and see, you don't need those two. They got 3 guys in the freaking mud. You don't need anybody in the mud. If this was us pouring, we'd have 2 guys just right on the front side of that roller shoveling, just kind of, well, we would be pushing. We wouldn't be using a roller screed, but you could get away with one guy in the mud if this was wider, but where it's not wide like that, we'd be using a vibrating screed and we'd be pushing it for a sidewalk. So
Yeah, I mean, this is just an example though of like with machine screeding, as long as your forms are set up good and your rails are set up good, anybody could do it. I mean, you throw two girls on there that have never done this before.
so look at okay, this is the one downside about a roller screed is you can see how the top, pause that, see how the top has got a lot of pot marks in it. So the roller screed does not get it nice, and I mean, you're gonna have to go over and float that quite a bit to get all that filled in. With the vibrating screed for sidewalks, you go over this 1 or 2 times and it's nice and smooth, the cream's to the top, really easy to float. And this was the reason we could pour so much sidewalk, is because we were using that vibrating screed. So I wouldn't use a roller screed for sidewalks. It's just, there's a way better, the vibrating screed's a way better way faster. Not faster pouring it out, but faster for finishing. But to pour big pads, your roller screed honestly makes it super flat, and you can pour it so fast.
So this next one, this is the bat screed from Curb Roller, and they actually go to Concrete World with their screeds. So I mean, screed rollers are out there, roller screeds are out there, because they are making it to the world of concrete.
I'm Steve Lloyd. I'm from Lynchburg, Virginia. We have a company of 80 employees. It's called Lloyd Concrete Services. We do all types of concrete work. We're not just geared to one thing. We use the bat screed on the Concrete 101 training. It's an introduction to concrete finishing, and we use it to strike off the concrete. That screed really did a good job. I'm really impressed with that screed. The versatility of it, the lightweightness of it, the easy to move it around, and it really closed the concrete up well. The thing of it is 2 people can move that screed very easily. And that's what
your spin screed was the first one we bought. It was electric, just like this. It was just electric. Yeah, that one does see a cord. It does look like a battery. But
today,
that's what we started with. But when you start pouring bigger pours,
you take guys that never have run one and they pick it up like that and go with it. I mean,
we bought the hydraulic, which the hydraulic is insanely powerful. These electric ones bog down, especially on wider pours. They'll bog down, and you could end up burning up your electric motor if you're pouring too wide and too dry.
And before we move on from the roller screed, we are currently working on one. We're working on an electric one. We're going to try and make it like the introduction.
Yeah, introductory model. So we're trying to make it fairly cheap, good quality, but cheaper than everybody. Everybody seems to be charging a fortune for their screeds, and that for some people, or a lot of people, it scares them off, and that's why they keep hand screeding, because buy a 2x4, to even buy those aluminum screeds or magnesium screeds are cheap, opposed to spending thousands of dollars for a roller screed. So it'll be the first of the year. We should be coming out with a introductory level roller screed, and then also a hydraulic, nice version of the hydraulic screed, which is going to be considerably less money than some of these guys are charging for these roller screeds. I mean, if you looked into laser screeds, you almost could buy, a pretty good one of the small used laser screeds for what they're charging for their roller screeds.
All right. Well, and that's the next level, right? So you got hand screeding, vibe screeding, roller screeds, and then now we're looking at laser screeds, which, I mean, they have pros and cons. One of the pros is nobody's doing any work. It literally does all the screeding.
Yeah, so we worked on a school in Twin Falls. It's a little ways away from us, but we were up there pouring all of the outside concrete for the school. And the guys that poured all of the inside concrete, this is exactly what they use right here. It's about this size, maybe a hair bigger, but it had the little skinny wheels just like this, and they poured all the floors, everything on that whole school. with this little laser screed.
And there's a step up from this one too.
Well, I think they like to use that one because see how they're riding it on that rebar?
Yeah.
It's lightweight and they can drive it on that rebar. These big ones like this, they'll reach out, but you're not driving on rebar. It'll just crush it.
Yeah, this is pretty heavy. Break your chairs if you got anything chaired up.
But I think these will screed wider. I think those small ones might only be 6 or 8 feet. And these ones, I think, you can see, I think there's a roller. There might be a roller on this.
Looks like there's an auger for sure.
Oh, there's an auger. So some of these have that auger that moves the mud, but then they also have a roller behind it, along with the vibrating screed at the back. This one doesn't have it, but it's just got the auger.
I mean, so like we said, the pros for using these obviously is nobody's out there freaking doing any of the work, but the cons is they're super expensive. Like you can't just go out and buy one of these.
No, this is for the big guys. I mean, there was a point we would have never bought one of these, but there's a point we were looking at the little ones.
Kind of the next level up and pretty much the last level of screeding concrete would be like a slip form paver, which are only designed to do roads. But these machines are incredible.
And if you could pull these apart, you'd see that these have rollers in them. They'll have the auger, and then they have a roller, maybe even 2 rollers. That's why it's coming out so nice at the end, and then you can see they got their own float right behind it. So
You got a float, and then they got like a finishing broom or something. It's probably got bristles on it or something. What do you think a machine like this costs, though? Over $1 million?
I don't know. Yeah, you're probably somewhere in that neighborhood. But if you're doing miles of freeway, I mean, this...
Probably the only way to do it.
Yeah, this is what they're made for. This is all you see on the freeways.
So I don't know what it's going off of. I mean, it's laser leveling off of something, but I don't know what it's pushing off of to get the concrete. You know what I mean? Like on the regular laser screeds, the machines are on wheels on the ground. Whereas I don't know how this one, like I don't know how it's going up or down, if that makes any sense. But I mean, if this technology's out there and they keep expanding upon this and making it better, this could be awesome. You got like a vibration laser leveling screed.
Yeah.
So there's that one, and then the last one I wanted to show is just it's like a compilation video of a bunch of different innovative machines. So I've never seen this before. This is like, it's in some different country, but this machine's gnarly. It's like a laser screed, but not a laser screed, a roller screed.
Yeah, they've been using these for... This was the original. This is an old machine. This is the original machines they were using to pour the freeways or pour the big concrete roads. These are the machines before they have those great big Gamecos or Whirler. I don't know if they're Wurlitzers or whatever. These were the original roller screed machines. So they actually, the roller actually is what moves it forward. I think it's got three or four rollers on it.
Yeah, and I think it's got vibrators in there too. See that, how they lower it down in there?
Yeah, that's just to help make sure that it fills all the voids.
Okay, with the last one is just another funny video.
Thanks for coming to the interview. All right, first question. Can you blink for me so I know you're alive? Perfect. You know, honestly, that pretty much sealed the deal for you, but I just got a few more housekeeping questions.
Oh, no, I don't clean toilets.
Oh, that's not what Not worth it. Ooh, we are gonna need to talk about this felony, though.
Hope you didn't see that. Is that gonna be a problem?
Yeah, of course it is, man. We like to see 2, 3, 4 felonies out of our guys. Those are rookie numbers. What? Oh no, what is that? Is that a wedding ring? We usually prefer to hire divorce guys with child support payments. It kind of motivates them to show up. We're separated. Yeah, I don't even know why I still. Oh, well, look at you. Congratulations. That's something to be proud of. Okay. All right, rapid fire and then we're done. Any trouble with alcohol? Yes. Drugs? Yes. Ankle monitor? Yes. Me too. Why do they make them so itchy? Right? So itchy. Here, use my pen that usually does the trick. Okay, well, it looks like you passed with flying colors. So. Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. What is this? Uh-oh. You have an associate's degree? Oh yeah, got it on accident. First of all, nerd. Second of all, Mr. Goodwill Hunting. You're now our new foreman. Really? You start Monday. Awesome, well, when's payday? Get out, you're fired. Everyone who asks that gets their first paycheck and never comes back, and I gotta do this whole thing again. He's good, he knew. Bring in the next one.
It just seems like with construction in general, I mean, we kind of specialize in concrete, but everybody has the same issues of they're having a hard time finding and keeping guys. The work's really hard. The really good guys are either blowing out their backs or they're going on their own, starting their own businesses, which they should. But that's why we always like to talk about machine screeding and using rails, trying to find the easiest way to get the job done without breaking your back. I mean, you guys have been doing this for how long?
30 years. Yeah. At least 30 years.
Long time.
Well, we started doing construction about 14 years old, so that's more than 30 years. But as our own business, we, probably 30 years. But we would never, we didn't start in concrete, we subbed concrete out. We started as generals building houses and we'd sub the concrete out, but the concrete seemed to be the most lucrative part of the construction, so we started doing our own concrete on our own projects, and it just, as we started developing subdivisions, it was hard to get guys to do the curb and gutter, and so we started doing that, and that became a whole business of itself, curb and gutter and sidewalks. But we've poured huge pads. We used to do a lot of pads for bleachers, which were these huge reinforced pads. I think it looked like somebody was doing one of those bleacher pads with all that rebar. But we would pour a lot of those, and they were big, wide, long pads. Probably 6 or 8 inches thick. I can't remember. I guess it varied depending on the size of the bleachers, but that for sure, something like that, you have to have a roller screed. You cannot get out there and hand screed that. I just don't see how you'd ever make money pouring something that big and doing it that slow. But I don't know, some of these guys, they do it. I've seen Ninja get out there and they got guys hand screeding while guys are power troweling in the back. So usually our screeding's done very quick, and then we're waiting on concrete to finish it. And that, to me, that should be the goal.
Well, that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them, ask us questions. You can DM us on any social medias to get a hold of us. If you are a store and you're wanting to get these products stocked in your store, you can get a hold of us as well. You can go to our website and find out more information there. You can send us videos, tag us in stuff if you're using the products, or if you have other roller screed videos or things that you're doing that you want us to react to or check out. Feel free to tag us on any social medias. It's Redline Manufacturing. But that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.